What happens when an accidental discovery on a distant alien planet unleashes a force capable of consuming entire galaxies? You won't believe how Captain Evelyn Carter and her crew turn the tide against overwhelming odds, and what it costs them to save humanity. The starship Aurora descended through the turbulent skies of Zeros, its sleek hull gleaming as it pierced the violet haze. Captain Evelyn Carter stood at the helm, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. She had spent years preparing for this mission, studying every scrap of data collected by previous expeditions. Yet nothing could have prepared her for the reality of Zeros, a world so alien, so hauntingly beautiful, that it defied comprehension. Zeros was unlike any planet she'd ever seen. Its surface shimmered with crystalline formations stretching endlessly into the distance, refracting light in dazzling patterns. It was said that these crystals weren't mere minerals. They were alive, housing intelligent beings who communicated through vibrations and light pulses. The crystalline entities, known locally as the Lumini, had lived here undisturbed for millennia until now. Evelyn's team consisted of 6 members, each chosen for their expertise. Among them was Ryan Lockhart, a brilliant but socially awkward biologist whose fascination with extraterrestrial ecosystems bordered on obsession. Then there was Tail, a native guide assigned to assist the crew. Unlike the Lumini, Tail appeared humanoid but carried traces of their crystalline heritage. His skin sparkled faintly under certain lights, and his voice resonated like a distant chime. Their objective seemed straightforward: explore the ancient ruins rumored to house advanced technology left behind by an unknown civilization. But as the team ventured deeper into the labyrinthine structures, unease settled over them. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the very fabric of space-time resisted their presence. It happened when Evelyn touched the central pedestal within the ruins. A sudden surge of energy coursed through the chamber, illuminating intricate carvings etched into the walls. Before anyone could react, the ground trembled violently, and a vortex of swirling darkness erupted before them. This was no ordinary phenomenon. It pulsed with malice, radiating waves of despair that clawed at their minds. Tail screamed something in his native tongue, backing away frantically. "We must leave," he cried, though his words barely registered over the deafening roar of the portal. And then silence. The portal stabilized, its edges rippling like liquid obsidian. From within, tendrils of shadow snaked outward, probing the air like curious predators. One of the nearby Lumini crystals shattered instantly upon contact, releasing a mournful wail that echoed across the plains. "We only scratched the surface of this mystery," Evelyn muttered grimly. "But I fear we've already crossed a line we can't uncross. We only started this story, but trust me, the stakes are about to get much higher." Stay tuned to see how Evelyn and her team navigate this unfolding catastrophe. Panic set in as the team scrambled to assess the situation. Ryan immediately began collecting samples of the dark energy using portable scanners, his hands trembling slightly despite his best efforts to remain professional. "Captain, this isn't natural," he stammered. "It's not just energy, it's alive. And it's hungry." Tail stepped forward hesitantly, his crystalline form flickering faintly. He spoke slowly, choosing his words carefully. "This place, it is forbidden. Our ancestors sealed the portal long ago after it brought ruin to our people. They warned us never to disturb it." Evelyn clenched her fists. "Well, we disturbed it. Now we need to fix it." Her tone was firm, masking the dread gnawing at her insides. She turned to Tail. "You said your ancestors sealed it. Do you know how?" Tail hesitated, glancing nervously at the portal. "There was a ritual, a sacrifice. Only those pure of spirit could perform it. But such knowledge has been lost to time." As the group debated their next move, the shadowy tendrils began spreading faster, consuming everything in their path. Another Lumini crystal collapsed into dust, followed by another. The once vibrant landscape transformed into a desolate wasteland, drained of color and life. Ryan approached Evelyn, his face pale. If this keeps up, it won't stop at zeros. Eventually, it'll breach interstellar barriers. Earth could be next. Evelyn swallowed hard. Then we don't have a choice. We seal the portal or die trying. But sealing the portal proved easier said than done. As they explored further, they discovered that the structure itself was part of a larger network, connecting countless worlds. Each attempt to deactivate the mechanism triggered violent feedback loops, nearly killing them in the process. Just when hope seemed lost, Tale revealed a crucial detail. Deep within the ruins lay a hidden chamber containing artifacts capable of manipulating the portal's energy. However, accessing it required navigating deadly traps designed to deter intruders. Here's where things take a turn, literally and figuratively. Are you ready to find out what happens next? Because what awaits them inside that chamber will change everything. The journey to the hidden chamber tested the team's resolve in ways they hadn't anticipated. Every step felt like walking through quicksand, the oppressive weight of the dark energy pressing down on them. Shadows danced along the walls, forming grotesque shapes that seemed almost sentient. More than once, Evelyn caught herself wondering if the energy was influencing their thoughts, planting seeds of paranoia and doubt. Tale led the way, his crystalline body acting as both beacon and shield. His movements were deliberate, guided by instincts honed over centuries of guarding the ruins. At one point, he paused abruptly, raising a hand to signal caution. Ahead, the corridor branched off into 3 separate paths, each marked with cryptic symbols glowing faintly in the dim light. These glyphs, Tale explained, represent choices. Choose wisely, or risk awakening greater horrors. Ryan examined the symbols closely, muttering calculations under his breath. Based on the geometric patterns, the middle path seems safest. But safest doesn't mean safe. Evelyn nodded. Middle path it is. They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing ominously in the narrow passage. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted, revealing rows of razor-sharp spikes below. Tale reacted instantly, throwing himself against a lever embedded in the wall. The mechanism groaned as the trap reset, leaving the team shaken but intact. "Good thing you're quick on your feet," Evelyn said, offering him a grateful smile. But Tale didn't return it. Instead, he stared ahead, his expression unreadable. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. What awaited them beyond the traps was even more harrowing. When they finally reached the chamber, they found themselves face to face with a colossal construct resembling a tree forged from blackened metal. Its branches stretched upward, pulsating with veins of dark energy. Suspended at its center was a crystalline orb, glowing faintly with an ethereal light. "This is it," Ryan breathed. "The artifact we need to control the portal." But as they approached, the construct roared to life, unleashing waves of energy that knocked them off their feet. The battle for survival and salvation was far from over. The construct loomed over them, its metallic branches writhing like serpents as it unleashed torrents of dark energy. Evelyn shielded her face from the blinding flashes, her mind racing to formulate a plan. The artifact, the crystalline orb, was their only hope, but reaching it seemed impossible with the construct actively defending itself. Ryan scrambled to his feet, clutching his scanner. "It's sentient," he shouted over the din. "The construct isn't just a machine. It's tied directly to the portal's energy. If we can disrupt its connection, we might be able to disable it." Tale stepped forward, his crystalline form shimmering with an inner light. "Leave this to me," he said firmly. Before anyone could protest, He lunged toward the construct, his body resonating with a high-pitched hum. The sound grew louder, vibrating through the chamber and causing the construct's movements to falter momentarily. "Now!" Tail yelled. Evelyn didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the orb, dodging bursts of energy that exploded around her. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the construct were trying to pull her back into its grasp. Behind her, Ryan worked furiously at his portable console, attempting to hack into the construct's systems and weaken its defenses. As Evelyn reached out for the orb, a tendril of shadow lashed out, wrapping itself around her wrist. Pain shot through her arm, cold and searing at the same time. She gritted her teeth, refusing to let go. With a final surge of strength, she grabbed the orb and yanked it free. The construct let out an ear-splitting screech, its branches collapsing inward as the dark energy feeding it dissipated. For a moment there was silence. Then the ground began to quake violently, forcing the team to retreat hastily. "We've triggered something," Ryan warned, his voice tinged with panic. "The portal's destabilizing." Evelyn clutched the orb tightly, her heart pounding. "We need to get back to the surface. Now." Their escape from the ruins was a chaotic blur of collapsing tunnels and encroaching shadows. The destabilization of the portal had awakened forces beyond their comprehension, and the very structure of the ruins seemed intent on swallowing them whole. Tail led the way, his crystalline body glowing brighter with each passing second, a beacon cutting through the growing darkness. At one point, a massive chunk of the ceiling collapsed, blocking their path. Evelyn turned to Ryan. "Can you rig something to clear it?" Ryan hesitated, glancing at the unstable debris. "I'll try, but it's risky. One wrong move and we're buried." "Do it," Evelyn commanded. There was no room for hesitation now. While Ryan worked, Evelyn studied the orb in her hands. It pulsed faintly, responding to her touch. She couldn't shake the feeling that it held secrets far greater than they realized. Was it truly the key to sealing the portal? Or was it another piece of the puzzle they hadn't yet solved? Finally, Ryan managed to blast through the rubble, creating a narrow passage. They squeezed through just as another tremor shook the ruins. The air was thick with dust and desperation, but they pressed on, driven by sheer willpower. When they emerged onto the surface, the devastation was staggering. The once vibrant plains of Zeros were now a barren wasteland, littered with shattered lumini crystals. The sky above churned with ominous clouds, streaked with veins of dark energy that stretched toward the horizon. "This is bad," Ryan muttered, staring at the horizon. "If the portal fully collapses, it'll tear a hole in space-time. Earth won't stand a chance." Evelyn tightened her grip on the orb. "Then we don't let it collapse. We find a way to stabilize it and seal it for good." Back aboard the Aurora Dash, the team regrouped to analyze the orb. Ryan set up a containment field in the ship's lab, carefully placing the artifact inside. As soon as it was secure, the orb emitted a series of pulsating lights, projecting holographic images into the air. "These are coordinates," Ryan exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. "They're pointing to other locations across the galaxy, places where similar portals may exist." Tail frowned, his crystalline features dimming slightly. "If these portals are connected, then the darkness spreading here is not isolated. It could already be affecting other worlds." Evelyn leaned against the lab counter, her mind racing. "We need to focus on stopping this one first. Once we seal it, we can worry about the others." But sealing the portal wouldn't be easy. The orb's projections revealed that stabilizing the portal required aligning it with specific frequencies unique to Zeros' environment. Without precise calibration, any attempt to close it would result in catastrophic failure. Ryan suggested using the ship's communication array to broadcast the necessary frequencies, but Tail warned against it. The portal feeds on energy, he explained. If we amplify its signal, we risk making it stronger. Evelyn weighed their options. Time was running out. The dark energy was spreading faster than ever, consuming entire regions of the planet. They needed a solution, and fast. What if we use the orb itself? She asked suddenly. It seems to resonate with the portal's energy. Maybe we can channel its power to reverse the process. Ryan nodded slowly. It's risky, but it might work. We'd need to create a feedback loop to overload the portal's core. And I assume you have a plan for doing that without blowing us all to pieces? Evelyn asked dryly. Ryan grinned sheepishly. Well, sort of. The plan involved venturing back to the portal site, which was now a swirling maelstrom of dark energy. The team prepared for the mission with grim determination, knowing full well the odds were stacked against them. Evelyn armed herself with tools and equipment, while Ryan double-checked the calculations needed to execute the feedback loop. Tail, meanwhile, meditated quietly, drawing strength from the remnants of his people's ancient wisdom. As they approached the portal, the oppressive weight of the dark energy became almost unbearable. Shadows twisted and writhed around them, forming shapes that seemed to mock their efforts. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine, but she forced herself to keep moving. Once they reached the edge of the vortex, Ryan set up the equipment, connecting the orb to a portable generator designed to amplify its energy output. This should do it, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. When I give the signal, activate the generator. But whatever you do, don't stop until the portal collapses. Evelyn nodded, taking her position beside the controls. Tail stood nearby, his crystalline form glowing softly as if preparing for battle. Ready, Ryan called out. Ready, Evelyn replied. With a deep breath, Ryan initiated the sequence. The orb began to hum, its light intensifying as it channeled energy into the generator. The portal responded immediately, its tendrils lashing out violently in an attempt to resist the intrusion. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted from the vortex, shaking the ground beneath their feet. A massive wave of dark energy surged outward, knocking Ryan off balance. Evelyn leapt forward, grabbing him before he could fall into the abyss. Keep going, she shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. The feedback loop intensified, straining the limits of the equipment. Sparks flew from the generator as it struggled to contain the overwhelming surge of energy. Evelyn adjusted the controls frantically, her hands trembling but steady. Every second felt like an eternity, the stakes higher than ever. Tail raised his arms, his crystalline body radiating a brilliant light that pierced through the darkness. He began chanting in his native tongue, his voice resonating with an otherworldly power. The shadows recoiled, retreating momentarily as if repelled by his presence. Ryan regained his footing and rushed to assist Evelyn. Together, they fine-tuned the generator, pushing it beyond its intended capacity. The orb pulsed erratically, its light flickering as the portal fought back with increasing ferocity. It's working, Ryan yelled. Just a little more. But the strain was becoming too much. The generator groaned ominously, its casing cracking under the pressure. Evelyn knew they were running out of time. Tail, she called out. We need your help. Without hesitation, Tail stepped closer to the orb, placing his hands on its surface. His body absorbed the excess energy, stabilizing the flow and allowing the feedback loop to continue uninterrupted. However, the effort took a visible toll. His crystalline form began to fracture, cracks spreading across his skin. You're sacrificing yourself, Evelyn realized, her voice choked with emotion. I am fulfilling my duty, Tail replied calmly. Protect my people and yours. With a final burst of energy, the portal imploded, collapsing in on itself and vanishing completely. The ground ceased shaking, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of calm that washed over the landscape. Exhausted but victorious, the team returned to the Aurora Dash. Tail's condition worsened with each passing moment, his once brilliant form dimming as the fractures spread further. Despite their best efforts to stabilize him, it was clear that his sacrifice had come at a great cost. You saved us, Evelyn told him gently, kneeling beside him. We owe you everything. Tail smiled faintly, his voice soft but resolute. My people believed that every action carries a ripple effect. Perhaps my sacrifice will inspire others to protect what remains. His words lingered in the air long after he passed, leaving the crew in somber reflection. The weight of their victory was tempered by the loss they had endured, a reminder of the price paid for their survival. Ryan worked tirelessly to document their findings, ensuring that the knowledge gained from the orb would not be lost. Evelyn, meanwhile, gazed out at the horizon, watching as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. Life was beginning to return to Zeros, albeit slowly. Yet even as they prepared to leave the planet behind, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. The coordinates embedded in the orb hinted at a larger network of portals scattered throughout the galaxy, and the possibility that the darkness they had faced might still linger elsewhere. The Aurora ascended into orbit, leaving Zeros behind as they plotted their next course. Evelyn convened the team in the ship's briefing room, her expression serious. We stopped the portal, but we can't ignore the bigger picture. Those coordinates lead to other worlds and potentially other threats. Ryan nodded, holding up a data pad displaying the holographic map. If we don't investigate, someone else will. And who knows what they'll unleash? Evelyn turned to the viewport, staring out at the stars. Then we keep going. For Tail. For Earth. For everyone who depends on us to protect them. The decision was unanimous. Their mission wasn't over, it had only just begun. Armed with newfound resolve, the crew set their sights on the next destination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the Aurora jumped into hyperspace, Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. They had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious. But she knew better than to let her guard down. In the vast expanse of the universe, danger was never far away. Stay tuned for the next chapter in this epic saga, because the fight for survival is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures across the stars. The Aurora emerged from hyperspace near a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant, its surface scarred by ancient craters and jagged ridges. According to the orb's coordinates, this was their first stop on the trail of interconnected portals. Evelyn stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the barren landscape below. Something about it felt wrong. The emptiness wasn't natural. It was as if life had been deliberately erased. Ryan joined her moments later, holding a tablet displaying preliminary scans. No signs of civilization or even basic microbial activity, he reported. It's like the planet was sterilized. Evelyn frowned. Sterilized? By what? Before Ryan could respond, the ship sensors picked up an anomaly, a faint energy signature emanating from deep within the moon's crust. It matched the frequency patterns they'd detected at the portal on Zeros. We've got our target, Evelyn said, determination hardening her voice. Let's gear up. Descending onto the moon's surface proved more challenging than anticipated. The terrain was treacherous, with sudden gravity fluctuations that threw off their navigation systems. As they approached the source of the signal, the air, what little there was, seemed to grow heavier, pressing against them like an invisible weight. When they finally reached the site, they found themselves standing before a massive crater, its edges lined with crystalline shards eerily similar to those on Zero's. At the center lay a structure half buried in the ground, its metallic surface corroded but still intact. "This is it," Ryan murmured, his voice tinged with awe. "Another portal." As they ventured into the structure, the oppressive atmosphere intensified. Shadows danced along the walls, shifting unnaturally despite the lack of light sources. The team moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Inside, they discovered a chamber nearly identical to the one on Zero's, complete with a central pedestal and intricate carvings etched into the walls. However, there was one key difference. The portal here was already active, though barely contained. Dark tendrils snaked out from its edges, crackling with malevolent energy. "We're too late," Evelyn whispered, her heart sinking. "It's already begun." Ryan quickly set up his equipment, attempting to analyze the portal's stability. "If we don't act fast, it'll destabilize just like the one on Zero's and spread whatever's inside across the galaxy." Tails' sacrifice weighed heavily on their minds. Could they risk another confrontation with the darkness without losing more of their own? Evelyn stepped forward, placing a hand on the pedestal. She felt a familiar hum beneath her palm, resonating with the same frequency as the orb. "We can use the artifact again," she said. "Channel its energy directly into the portal to seal it." "But we don't know how much strain the orb can handle," Ryan warned. "Pushing it too far might destroy it, and us along with it." Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. "We don't have a choice. Let's do it." Activating the orb proved even more perilous this time. The moment Evelyn initiated the connection, the portal reacted violently, unleashing waves of dark energy that threatened to overwhelm them. The chamber shook violently, chunks of debris raining down as the construct guarding the portal roared to life. This time, however, the construct was larger, angrier, and smarter. Its movements were deliberate, targeting each member of the team with calculated precision. Evelyn ducked behind cover as a tendril of shadow lashed out, narrowly missing her head. "Keep going," she shouted to Ryan, who was frantically adjusting the orb's settings. "I'll hold it off." Summoning every ounce of courage, Evelyn charged at the construct, using her plasma cutter to sever one of its limbs. It retaliated instantly, slamming her into the wall with a burst of energy. Pain exploded through her body, but she gritted her teeth and fought back, refusing to give in. Meanwhile, Ryan worked furiously, sweat pouring down his face. "Almost there," he yelled. "Just a few more seconds." The portal began to destabilize, its core pulsing erratically. The construct let out a deafening screech, its form dissolving into tendrils of shadow that merged with the vortex. For a moment, it seemed as though the entire structure would collapse. Then, with a blinding flash, the portal imploded, taking the construct with it. The chamber fell silent, save for the sound of labored breathing. Back aboard the Aurora Dash, the team assessed the damage. Evelyn sported bruises and cuts, while Ryan looked pale and exhausted. Despite their injuries, there was a sense of relief. They had succeeded where others might have failed. But the victory was bittersweet. The orb's light had dimmed significantly, its energy depleted after 2 consecutive uses. Ryan ran diagnostics, confirming their worst fears. "One more activation, maybe 2 at most," he said grimly. "After that, it's useless." Evelyn stared at the orb, her mind racing. They couldn't afford to waste it, not when so many worlds were at stake. Each decision carried monumental consequences, and the pressure was mounting. "What's our next move?" Ryan asked quietly. Evelyn took a deep breath. "We follow the coordinates. If we can find the origin point of these portals, we might be able to shut them all down permanently." Her words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. The journey ahead promised untold dangers, but turning back was no longer an option. Their final destination brought them to a world shrouded in perpetual twilight, its skies painted in hues of crimson and gold. The orb's signal led them to a colossal structure perched atop a mountain peak, its design unlike anything they'd encountered before. This was no mere ruin. It was a fortress, bristling with defenses that activated the moment they approached. "This is it," Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the tension. "The origin point." The team prepared for what would undoubtedly be their greatest challenge yet. Armed with the orb, their resolve unshakable, they advanced toward the fortress, ready to face whatever horrors awaited within. Inside, they discovered a chamber filled with countless portals, each humming with dark energy. At the center stood a towering entity composed entirely of shadows, its presence radiating pure malice. It turned to face them, its form shifting and writhing like living smoke. "So you've come?" it rasped, its voice echoing in their minds. "You think you can stop me?" Evelyn stepped forward, holding the orb aloft. "We're not leaving until you're gone." With a roar, the entity lunged at them, unleashing a storm of darkness. The battle that followed tested every ounce of their strength, skill, and courage. But in the end, it was Evelyn who delivered the final blow, channeling the orb's remaining energy into a concentrated beam that struck the entity's core. As the fortress crumbled around them, the portals collapsed one by one, their dark energy dissipating into nothingness. The team barely escaped with their lives, watching from the safety of the Aurora, as the mountain erupted in a brilliant explosion of light. Exhausted but triumphant, Evelyn gazed out at the stars. They had faced the impossible and won. But as she reflected on their journey, she knew the universe still held countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And so, their adventure continued, with new challenges, new discoveries, and the unwavering belief that humanity's future depended on their courage to explore the unknown. Stay tuned for more thrilling tales from beyond the stars. Don't forget to subscribe for updates on the next chapter of this epic saga.